And just to give context to people, you were classed as medically fit.
I was medically fit, but I couldn't walk. How does that work?
Yeah.
All right, granted, according to every scan and test and bloods we've done, we can't see anything. And then that just freaked me the hell out, because I thought, I'm never going to drive again.
Well, we ended up selling the car.
I'm never going to be able to drive again. I've lost my independence, you know. So, oh my God, the symptoms and everything that you can get with FND is like
horrific.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I've got it. Okay.
How does that make you feel to know that the career that you had for so long, that the career that you loved and that you were expanding on, and then you were going into training? I mean, within a space of 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah, it's crap. It's crap, because every day I think, definitely don't go down the rabbit hole so much.
Yeah.
Easily said than done. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I went down that rabbit hole probably every night.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's a link, then there's another link, and then there's another link.
And it's really important. So, you are my wife. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. I am your wife, and my name is Donna, and I have been asked politely if I could come on.
I think I grovelled.
Yeah, and asked several times. Can you come on the podcast, please? Can you come and try on the podcast, please?
Podcast.
Yeah, podcast. There we go. That's one thing about FND.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today, because you've agreed to do this, so thank you. So
not in writing. It's not in writing. So, you know, word against, yeah.
Yeah, if you don't see me in the next couple of months, you know why.
Yeah.
But no, I really do appreciate it, because one, it gives me the opportunity to practice the setup, but also in recent news there has been a lot more awareness being brought about FND, which is something that we never knew about.
No, it seems like FND wasn't on our radar at all.
No.
And then it's almost like as soon as we had the diagnosis, it's blown up everywhere.
Yeah.
It's been on social media. There's several people I follow on TikTok. It's even now been on things like This Morning.
Yeah.
So.
And it's the same adage as when you go to buy a car. You go and buy the car that you don't think that you'll see. And then as soon as you get the idea of that's the car that I want.
You're on the motorway, you're like,
you see it everywhere.
There's one.
So, do you want to go back to when this first happened?
Let's go back.
Let's go back to the day way back.
Well, not that long.
It wasn't that long.
When I was born, no.
So this happened in May. It was
May the 21st.
On a beautiful day. Beautiful sunny day.
Yes, it was.
And the kids are nagging us to go out for a walk.
I think I've said this story to about 1 billion people. So
billion?
Yeah, I think pretty much 1 billion. You know, I do over exaggerate, but yeah, every person I've seen since last May, I've told this story to. Gradually now, as the time's gone on, I've not said it so much.
Yeah.
So I've had to look back on my diary. But yeah, so it was a Sunday, tea time, and the girls wanted to go for a walk. I was over the stove like a good wife that I am.
I didn't put you there. This was willing.
Yeah, making dinner.
It's bolognese, isn't it?
Bolognese, yes.
Yes.
And I just had shaky hands. And the only way I can describe this, and I just like to make a disclaimer, I'm not an alcoholic, but when you're hungover and you're feeling rough and you get the shakes, it's the only way I could describe the way my hands were. I was just like that. Didn't think anything of it. I just thought, let's just get out and get some fresh air. Put the bolognese to one side and was like, right, come on, let's go. As we left the house, my arm started aching. and heavy.
Yeah.
Not like you've been to the gym and worked out. They were just heavy. And I was like, oh, whatever. Just let's go for a walk. Brushed it off. Walked probably
less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, less than 5 minutes on a nice stroll. And my legs started feeling heavy. And it was kind of like, is it in my head? What's going on? But then I got to the point where I was holding onto the wall.
Yeah.
Because we were going across the bridge.
Because I was just ahead with Samuel. Was Samuel with us?
No, it was Layla.
I was with Layla.
You and Layla were... yeah, and I was holding on to the wall a bit, and my oldest was like, you okay? I was like, yeah. And then I just stopped because I just couldn't walk anymore. And so you and Layla turned around and you were like, what's the matter? I was like,
physically couldn't move.
I can't move my legs. And you were like, what do you mean? I was like, I can't move my legs. They're literally like, not...
Would you say it was dead weight or...
Dead weight. They weren't paralysed.
But you couldn't walk any
And
further.
it wasn't like a lot of people with FND, they literally become paralysed.
Yeah.
You know, and they can't lift themselves or anything. But I could hold my weight at this point.
Yeah.
So you were like, can you get back home? So we tried a few steps and I couldn't.
No.
I just couldn't. So I lowered myself down with you and you went back and got the car because it was too far for you to carry me.
Hercules.
Yeah, I know. Fireman's lift across the village. Where are you going?
Saving my wife.
Yeah.
So Dad, I'll go get the car.
Yeah, pretty much. Got me in the car.
Yeah.
Come home. Pretty much carried me into the house.
Yeah.
And I just said, right, just get me a glass of water. Let's just calm down. Not that I was like running or anything, but it was just like chill out. Had the glass of water, but I couldn't even hold the glass of water. It was a case of a small glass and I was trying to drink it. It was just near impossible. So it was like, right, Sunday, so we're going to have to phone out of hours.
But to give context for people who are listening to this, prior to this, you had no physical illnesses at all. For instance, you used to go kickboxing. You were very healthy.
Yeah. So all my life, I've been really active. I was the one that everyone knew that I'd be 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I couldn't sit down. I mean, on several occasions, you tried to get me into hobbies.
Yeah.
And it was like...
just to get you just to do something relaxing.
But I just never did. I was always 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I did kickboxing twice a week. I went on walks, as a family, we've done Snowdon, we've done Pen y Fan.
Yeah.
So other than having very controlled asthma as an adult, medically,
nothing that would have
brought this on. Something that literally went from there to there within the space of 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So we phoned 111 because I don't think...
No, we didn't. We phoned 111 first.
Yeah, we didn't phone out of hours. We just went straight to 111, didn't we? So, and they were like 999 straight away. So we were like, phone 999. Told them the situation, can't feel this, can't feel that, blah, 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 can't move. And they were like, right, yeah, you need to get to hospital. Unfortunately, the waiting time on the ambulance was very long due to the...
I think it was was it only...
8 hours.
It was 8 hours.
Yeah.
Flipping heck.
So due to the poor situation that the NHS is under. So you were like, let's drive him. Be easier. So packed the kids up, dropped them off to my mother's.
Yeah.
And then went down to A&E. Luckily we got a wheelchair.
Yes, we did. Yes,
so
I did.
we got in.
My memory.
And first things like always, OBS, took my information. All this now, I would say, must have got into the hospital about 6:30, 7 on a Sunday evening. I can't even remember the order I had stuff, but I had different tests, ECG.
And an MRI.
MRI was couple of days later. So I'm on about like the initial.
Well, the initial, right, okay.
Checking my heart, checking my brain, had a CT scan. Saw several different doctors. First thing that came into their head was the possibility of a stroke, because of the lack of movement.
Yeah.
Then there was the possibility of a illness called Guillain-Barré.
Yeah.
I might have pronounced that wrong.
I've never heard anybody pronounce it the right way anyway.
Whatever the right way is.
Exactly.
So that was going on. Now, I did know about Guillain-Barré because a husband had it. So that was it. I was like texting her, blah, 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 blah. But it was then just a waiting game.
Yeah.
It was literally...
Because how long was you in hospital for?
Just over 4 days.
Yeah, and all of that was spent.
No, 5, because we came home Thursday.
And it was all in A&E.
All in A&E bar one night.
Yeah.
So, yeah, unfortunately, we literally were there Sunday night, Monday night, and Tuesday night.
Yeah.
In A&E. We went from like the assessment section back to the A&E and back and forth, and had several different tests. In the space that we were there, God, I can't count how many doctors we saw.
Yeah, it was a few.
And they all did the same test.
It was like Groundhog Day every time you saw a doctor.
Yeah.
It was the same test that they were doing with the limbs.
It's called a certain thing if you go online, but basically it tests your reflexes and how you move and push and joint and all that. It is called something. And they ruled out the stroke. They ruled out the Guillain-Barré because, well, normally with Guillain-Barré, it starts, well, a lot of serious illnesses regarding movement starts on your toes.
Yeah.
And works your way up.
Yeah.
What the doctor said anyway.
And because it started in your new hands,
they
discounted.
As worried. Managed to get a bed for a couple of hours. So managed to get a couple of hours shut eye, but then obviously as soon as I was in the bed, the wheelchair went.
Yeah.
So then I was back outside in the waiting room. Then a nurse that obviously had been on shift a few times whilst I'd been there. She had come home back and a few times. She was like, "Oh, you've been here a while, haven't you?" She said, "There's a spare chair in one of the cubicles, a more comfortable chair." And there was about 4 of us in this one cubicle that was meant to be for one person. But unfortunately, again, that's
just the way the NHS is at the moment.
It's so...
There's a lot of issues there that are...
Yeah, and none, I never stated any it down to the doctors or the nurses or anything. It's just the way it is at the moment. The system's broke. So...
And after the 5 days then, what was the conclusion?
Well, no, it was the Wednesday. The Wednesday evening, they were like, "We got you a bed." And they were like, "Right, you got a bed, you can go up." And I was like, "Great." Oh, no, she's got her MRI. We got it on MRI. And I was like, "Oh, sod's law, it all comes at once." So on the Wednesday, we had the MRI. Well, I did. They just did the neck and head, neck and shoulders.
Yeah.
Because again, if anything that serious, it would be there. There was talk of a lumbar puncture. but they didn't want to go down that route just yet. So Wednesday night, finally got to bed. And I think the neurologist, that was the first time I saw a neurologist, was Wednesday night.
Yeah.
Bear in mind, I've been in hospital now since Sunday evening, so
It was a long...
I've had barely any sleep.
Because you just can't.
You just can't. It's just so hectic there, and all the beeping, and he came up, but I wasn't with it. I've had no sleep.
Yeah.
I was knackered, I was hanging, still trying to work out what the hell's wrong with me, and he must have been in there less than 5 minutes. It was like, must be his home time, because he was in less than 5 minutes, and he was like, can't see anything wrong on the MRI. So I think it's just a case of following up with the neurologist in the future.
Yeah.
And left, and I was like, what?
5 days and we were there, and it was...
So Thursday came around, had some work with the physio around the bed, assessing how I could get in and out of the bed and whatnot. By this time, you had been home. You would put your head on and brought the bed down into the living room, because you knew full well that this wasn't going to be something that was going to go away.
Permanent thing, yeah.
So,
just had a gut feeling.
Yeah, so the physio came around with the OT and stuff, and they were asking about the layout of the house and how things were. Luckily, we got a downstairs toilet, and you had stated already that, right, I've moved the bed downstairs so she doesn't have to go up and down stairs. And they were like, right, do you want a commode? Do you want this? They got me a stool. They got me a special railings for on the toilet. OT was great in the hospital. Couldn't fault it.
They were quick as well. As soon as
literally, because literally they must have spoken to someone Wednesday night or early hours Thursday, because we had come home Thursday and Friday there was a knock at the door
and she was there
with all this equipment, and we were like, wow, so still none the wiser at this point. The doctor that came around, which was like, he just wanted people out.
Yeah, and just to give context to people, you were classed as medically fit.
I was medically fit, but I couldn't walk.
So from someone who has been doing kickboxing, walking miles, to being a support care worker, looking after other people, and then having to come home in a wheelchair and not be able to physically walk and be described as medically fit.
It was like, how...
I couldn't wrap my head around
how's that. How does that work?
Yeah.
All right, granted, according to every scan and test and bloods we've done, we can't see anything. They didn't want to do the lumbar puncture because...
The risk ratio.
It's quite a high risk procedure, because, they're getting fluid from your spine. Because everything else came back negative. Other than my ANAs,
we came home none the wiser.
Yeah, they just said, all right, we'll refer you to neurology and they'll be in touch.
And at this point, you were working as a support care worker, and we went literally from 2 wages down to 1 in the space of 5 days. And
yeah, because I was on like 0 hours. So
that was a massive stress for you as well.
It was just like...
Because it wasn't just your health, it was...
everything.
It was everything. You couldn't drive, you couldn't put your foot on the clutch.
Well, before all that, I couldn't walk. So it was like, I was sleeping downstairs and I'd hear my kids get up in the morning.
Yeah.
They were in year 6 and in year 3, getting dressed and going to breakfast club.
Yeah.
Where
and luckily the school is literally there. It's like, 4 doors down?
Yeah.
So luckily for me, I was able to stand by the door, watch them go to school. But at the same time, as a mother that is used to doing that all the time for your kids,
Yeah.
and then going from that and not being able to see your children go to school because you were
Or
so
even pick up.
exhausted,
Well, yeah, I couldn't
it
pick
was
the kids
wiping you
up. I
out.
mean, God, I think the first couple of weeks at home, I literally was just constantly in bed because I
Yeah.
was so tired and knackered.
And even just like getting from like, because the bed was over there and the sofa's where it is now, and we had the table where that camera is, and just the physical act of going from the bed to the sofa would
with
wipe,
either the Zimmer frame
with
or
the Zimmer frame or
wheelchair,
the wheelchair
it
would
would
just
knock me out.
wipe
It's
you out.
like, how can someone be physically fit or
Medically
medically
fit.
fit and not be able to walk? You know, like leaving the hospital, my sister filming me just to go to the toilet was just like,
Yeah, and the thing that bugged me about the Guillain-Barré is that they said that you improved enough
to rule it
to rule it out, but
Yeah.
it was just like, but you still can't.
Yeah, and
Like,
at the time we had no idea what the hell we were dealing with, so
no,
we were literally grasping onto all
clutching at
straws. Yeah,
straws.
yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
but now that we understand the diagnosis, it makes sense.
yes, it does. But
How did we get to that diagnosis, though?
well, prior to that, I was back in A&E.
Yes, again, you went back in.
I went back into A&E because that's when what was it, June?
It wasn't long after. I think you were only home,
It was June. I know it was definitely in June, so it was.
but about 2 weeks later,
Yeah.
because it wasn't long, because
No.
you were in
No.
at the end of May, and then you came
So
home.
when I was using the Zimmer frame to get to the bathroom, I just could not bear weight on the ball of my left foot.
Yeah.
Just the only way I could describe it, it's like when you put your foot on the clutch, you've got to put that extra pressure, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
And then that just freaked me the hell out because I thought, I'm never going to drive again.
Well, we ended up selling the car.
I'm never going to be able to drive again. I've lost my independence, you know. So, yeah, we ended up selling the car. One, because I wasn't using it, and we realistically didn't think I was going to be driving it again.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a.
How did that hit you emotionally? Because you've dealt with this extremely well, and you haven't really shown me. I haven't seen any breakdown or massive tears.
I think because I've been in the care industry all my life, and you know, I've worked from the elderly right down to babies, but more so adults with learning difficulties. And that was just in my head all the time, because I just thought, well, yeah, my life's been turned upside down. But, you know, I'm still here. I'm still me in one sense. You know, I'm not going to let an illness deter who I am. You know, it was a bit weird the first few times going out in the wheelchair. And I remember whispering to you, going, can you tell that? And you're like, you can't speak. Talk to her. I was like, excuse me.
Hello, hi, hello.
Yeah. So it was a bit weird. Now I'm just like, move, you know. But,
and some people can't, they will not use a wheelchair because of what it represents. They don't see it as allowing you to get about. They see it as, my life has changed, and this is.
Yeah, I mean, some people just can't wrap their heads around when things change. And
especially when it changed so quickly like it did for you.
You know, so it was hard selling the car. Because that was my independence.
Yeah.
That was my bread and butter, so to speak, you know, because where we live, there's only a village bus that goes every 2 hours.
But you drive 60 miles an hour, so you get there quick anyway.
Yes, it is like Colin McRae, like, meow.
Wacky races.
Yeah. But, you know, so it was a bit strange. But and I always go back to where and who I've worked with and how they don't let things like that disturb them. They don't know any different. But
Yeah.
and I just think, well, it could be a whole lot worse. I could be officially paralyzed from the waist down. I could. We just didn't know.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot to take in and a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
Whether or not it can be cured, whether or not...
Oh God, I went down the biggest rabbit hole of the internet.
And that is the problem, is when you
ever. Yeah. I mean, because when I was in hospital, they said about my ANAs, which is sort of connected with the autoimmune side of you.
Yeah.
We were like, right, it's got to be an autoimmune disease. So we started looking at a lot of autoimmune diseases, such as lupus.
Yeah. Was MS one of them?
MS is neurological.
Yeah.
So, but for a long time, I was like, right, I got lupus.
Because it seemed to fit a lot of the symptoms.
Yes, this is the other thing. A lot of neurological disorders and autoimmune diseases, they overlap something chronic, like massively. I mean, it's ridiculous how much everything overlaps.
And usually when you get diagnosed with FND, it's the last diagnosis because they have to go through an inordinate amount. But in saying that, even though they say they got to go through an inordinate amount to get to the diagnosis, they didn't, because we had to pay for a specialist. Which your sister helped out with.
Yeah. So, yeah. I can't even blink properly. Yeah, so, even when I went back to A&E in the June, I said, has it been logged that I'm due to see neurology? And they were like, it's not on the system.
Yeah.
So that was another step back. So they said, I'll re-refer you, blah, blah, blah. They couldn't do anything. They literally, I was there for like 5 minutes and they were like, because of
the first time
they were like, there is physically nothing we can do other than prescribe me nerve
and pain. How does that play in your mind? Because obviously you're at a point now where you're thinking, this is something that's going to be plaguing me possibly every 2 weeks, where I could be back in A&E.
Well,
and is there any point in me coming in, because there's physically nothing they can do?
Yeah. So in my head now, I'm like, right, okay, so every time I have a moment, I'm still like at this point stupidly weak. Like I can't even get up. I hadn't gone upstairs yet. So it was like, do I bother? Do I bother contacting them and stuff? So in the meantime, I'd been back and forth to my GP, letting him know about the situation. And I said to them, oh, look, can you see on the system that I'm waiting to see the neurologist? And he was like, well, we can't see everything that the hospital can see, which I appreciate. But he was like, I can't see it.
Yeah.
And my sister was like, this is
stupid.
Bull-S, complete and utter bull. So she very, very kindly paid for us to go private.
Yeah.
Which was literally the last day of the August.
And this is one of the symptoms of FND, is the brain fog and the speaking. So this conversation right now is going to have a massive effect on you later. I know you're going to be wiped out and tired.
Yeah, it's
taxing mentally or physically? Do you find that it wipes you out?
Mentally. But what got me was we got into this private place. Saw this neurologist specialist in neurology, quite, he had every letter in the alphabet behind his name. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was so we paid to see him. And he did every single test. Well, not every single test. He did every sort of movement with me that every other doctor had did, raising the arms, pushing, pulling. And I actually took all my notes. I got them printed off from the NHS, because I wanted to show him, because obviously they might not get access to the doctor's notes.
And is that something that you would recommend for people? Is that when they go into this, is to
definitely
either get your partner or someone to write this down?
Write it down, but also, like in Wales and England, there's a different system for the NHS. So in Wales, we had to email Cardiff and Vale and ask for full information about...
Get all your notes.
All my notes from the 2 occasions I was in hospital.
Yeah.
I had to send in proof of who I was because of the data protection.
GP, PDDD, all those alphabets.
All those letters. All those alphabets, but I got it all, and it literally had everything in it. So I was able to just give that to him, which I think was a big thing, because he could look at all the medical side.
Yeah, context for everything.
But we were in there for less than half an hour. Yeah. And he was like,
"You've got...
these are symptoms that coincide and things with FND." And I was like, oh. Now, prior to this, a friend had said she was diagnosed with FND, where she was losing power and weakness in her leg, and her one leg was constantly giving way.
Yeah.
So FND was another thing that was in my head, but because of Googling it, it was such a broad thing. I was like, no way have I got that.
Because it seemed like there was...
Oh my God, the symptoms and everything that you can get with FND is like...
horrific.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I've got it. Okay. And he said, normally you get FND due to trauma in your life, or if you've had a major accident in your life, sort of, if you've been in a car crash or something massively severe in your life. And I was like, wow, my kids have been in my life for like 11 years. That's enough trauma to put any parent goes through goddamn trauma.
We've all got FND.
I know. But he put it down to me having several complications with gynecology.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And he said, it's quite common that people who have had procedures through gynecology have experienced limb weakness. And I was like, okay. And that was it. He was like, there's not really much.
Basically, they can cure it.
They can't cure it. There's not really anything within the NHS. There is CBD. Is it cognificant behaviour?
Behavioural. But do you just want to give like a bit of an explanation what the doctor said to you, what FND is?
So the easiest way to describe FND is that your brain is the computer. So your whole body is a computer.
Yeah.
The brain is
the hardware.
The hardware. And your neurons are your software. And they're going all everywhere, and your body just shuts down. So it's almost like you have a software issue.
Yeah.
And not even a software technician can solve this problem.
It's a part of the brain that, unless there's a mechanical issue, like with the hardware,
yeah,
the scan's not going to show it.
No.
So the MRIs or anything that...
No, this is it. Because it's neurological, it can't be picked up on any scans or tests.
Even with the signals, because it's not the
Yes.
signal, it's the actual coding that's within the signal. And that is why they refer it, because it's almost like the trauma and then your brain has gone, I don't want to deal with that part of the body.
Yeah, so
And
it
that's
is.
why
It's
you
like your
get...
body's going, I've had enough. I've had enough. And it's like your brain had like a 5-minute meltdown. It's like, nope. And so your neurons are like,
we're just going to turn you off.
What are we doing? And it was like, so certain parts just stop working.
And to make this clear, this is not a conscious thing that you're aware of or doing. So people who have FND, they're pretty much told to, if it's your brain, you'll be fine. Just don't think about it, but it's not.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is FND only recently has come into the spotlight of it is a real
mental health issue.
No, it's not a mental. That's what I mean. Beforehand, it was mental health.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people with mental health had it, so they just automatically were like, it's mental health. It's in your head.
Yeah.
But so much research over the last few years have come out, and it's like, no, it's not a mental health condition. It is a neurological disorder.
Yeah.
Because your brain is not functioning. So it is. Now,
it's almost like having a game on the PC and then a patch comes out to fix something, but it doesn't quite fix it and you're left with a bug.
Yeah.
So there's a glitch and something doesn't operate as well as it should do.
Yeah. Now, I'm very, very fortunate.
Yeah.
That I have what I would class a mild case of FND.
I wouldn't say it's mild, but I mean, some of the things...
in my personal opinion, I would class it as mild because there are people out there with it who become paralyzed from the neck down for days on end. You know, there are people, not so many, but blind, can go blind. A lot of people have seizures, so then they have to rule out if they're epileptic.
But I've also read that the seizures that you're having aren't just epileptic. So you are getting what is called but it is cognitive. I'm not going to say the word because I'll bastardize it. But when you are vacant and your mind goes, they're also classing that now as a seizure.
Yeah. So
there's different.
But I mean, I'm not having
the full fits.
I'm not having like what someone with epilepsy would class it as a tonic-clonic.
Yeah.
You know, I don't convulse.
Explode.
Explode. No, I don't do that. God, I know FND is bad. I don't
convulse.
Yeah, shake like. You know, some people lose. They lose. Use of their bowel, not their bowel, their like, not your bowel.
Point to the body part.
No. Yeah, no, not your bowel. Yeah, that's the bowel. That's the wee. What's it?
I'm not going to say the word.
No, when you wee.
Or just say that. That's fine. So they have they have issues.
They can't go.
There we go. we got there.
Yeah, so there's people, bless them, who have...
No, do they have to have like bags?
Yes, some have catheters because of it. You know, because they just can't wee. They lose I can't think.
So in the grand scheme of things, whilst it sucks that you have FND and that it's been a massive change to your life, whereas you're no longer be able to work because the condition is enough to stop you.
I've had several meetings with, you know, people such as DWP, and even my own company had an OC health report, and basically because of my symptoms and now my increased medication, I can't do my job anymore.
You can't concentrate for
I
long
can't
enough,
concentrate. I was studying to be a podiatrist,
and you had to stop that.
and I had to stop because, you know, when I was off work, when I was just off on sick at
Yeah.
the time, because we just didn't know, I was like, oh, great, I'll try and push my coursework. But I couldn't. I literally would look at the computer
You just wasn't taking it in.
and I can't take anything in. I can have, it's really weird, and people with FND will only relate to this, and people can't grasp. I can have conversations with you and family and close friends.
Yeah.
I may stutter and try and work out what the hell I'm saying halfway, but I can pretty much have a flowing conversation.
There have been moments in this conversation where you have saw those.
But if I'm with someone who I don't know, or
Haven't seen in a
if
long
I'm
time.
in a meeting or something, like, you know, I thought I'd start the PTA, and, you know, being where people are talking, I was like,
Sensory overload.
yeah. And again, sensory overload is another thing, because your sensories, there you go, are all part of.
I'm sure I made that up as well. I don't think that's a word. I'm just making it sound like I know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The sensories.
You sound great compared to me. I'm like, that thing where you wee. Yeah, so, you know, your senses are part of
Overwhelmed.
your neurons, you know, neurology. So, and like even talking and try to say stuff, you know, I've always been able to talk, and people are like, shut up, Donna, you know, in the past.
Can hear you in the village across the way.
Yeah. You know, I've always been one that's been very vocal and willing to put my voice first. But now I'm like, I try and talk and I'm like, what are we talking about? And
you would literally lose the train of thought and the path that you were on.
And I can't. But again, that's something that's really strange.
Because I know that when we've had conversations and I'm talking to you and you've been on the couch and I'm standing and I've just come in the room and I've been excited and I've started talking to you about something, and I can see your eyes and your face and you're looking at me, but you are not there. And I've gone,
no.
I said, don't worry.
Talk later.
I'll come back to you later.
And there's been times where my sensory overload has gone crazy, because another thing with FND is people lose speech.
Yeah.
I mean, some, as you may have seen on This Morning, have woken up with different accents.
That I couldn't.
Which is like, how the hell does that happen? You know, before all this, I'd be like, what the hell? But
they must be putting it on.
There's so much that when you go down into the world of FND, and there's a few great organisations and companies out there that have helped me, and like especially Facebook, there's like 2-3 groups I'm on, and you can ask the most stupidest question on there. Like, I've had a couple of episodes where I've almost been drunk. It looks like I'm drunk.
Yeah.
You've tried to have a conversation with me, and I'm looking at you, and I'm trying to talk to you, and I can't, and I'm slurring words, and then you try talking to me, and I'm looking at you like,
what are you saying?
And I'm literally like, what the hell, you know? And that again is something. And I can go onto these groups on Facebook and be like, does anyone else, you know, what's people's experiences with this? And they all come, and no question is stupid. Like, there's a group for the like a Zoom group discussion every month. And like in England, they've got a few. They've got one in Scotland. They've got in Wales. And I've joined that a few times, the Welsh one. And it's really reassuring. It's, there's some people who can walk around their house, but then as soon as they go out, it's all to do like this this CBD or whatever it is, cognitive behavior thing, where you try to, because the whole thing that is try to retrain your brain into doing stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I can have a conversation with you pretty much okay.
Yeah.
And I can potter around the house pretty much okay. But as soon as I go out...
But you are having to like lean on the door or use
I mean, I still use my walking stick and stuff.
And I go mad at you.
Yeah.
Not in a nasty way, but you do too much, and trying to rein you in has always been...
Yeah, that's the
because
thing.
You're like, always on the go.
If I have a good day, I'm like, I've got to like do the washing. I've got to put the Hoover on. Like this morning, I was like, I'm having a good day. I'm going to go upstairs.
Before you did this, and I was just
and
like,
you were like, what are you doing? I'm fixing the toilet seat. Get downstairs. I'm like, yeah, but the toilet seat keeps rattling and it's doing my nutting. And because I thought, like, I've got the energy today, I'm going to do it. And but then it's learning how much you can push yourself. Because if you push yourself too much, tomorrow I'll be no good.
You'll be burnt out now for the next 2 or 3 days after this, this morning. And
yeah, and it's so hard because as soon as I got the diagnosis, and I was having physio before this, the physio turned around and went,
there's nothing we can do.
There's nothing our department can do, because it's not something like you're not rebuilding the muscle or...
Mechanically, there's nothing wrong with you.
So they're like, how can we...
You mechanically, you're fine, so there's nothing for us to fix, so you don't need the service.
Yeah.
So with FND, one of the things that I was surprised with what the doctor said when we went to see the specialist is that the symptoms that you have today may not be the symptoms you have in 5 years' time. They might get better, they might get worse. And they might be different. So your legs might come back working, and then you might suffer with seizures.
Yeah. You just don't know. I mean, there's this big question that a lot of people ask. Can FND be cured? And some people have said yes. And some people, which I'm on their side with, who have said, no, it just goes into...
different phases.
Remission.
Right, okay.
So to speak. Not comparing it to like how cancer goes into remission, but there's people who have had massive episodes and, they've been paralyzed or whatever, and then fine for a couple of years, and then something else happens.
It's a different symptom.
And it can be a different symptom, A few people have been diagnosed with FND because of having migraines. And they've had several severe migraines a month. And then that just makes me think, well, hang on.
I've always
suffered with migraines. Have I always had FND?
Because they don't know whether or not it's something that you always have or gets. I know they said that it's been triggered, but they don't know enough.
It could always be there. And when you get that trauma or that stress or something, so it's very strange. It's I've been very lucky that I've been able to start driving again.
Yeah.
It has an automatic, which is just weird. The first couple of times driving, I was like, where's the clutch? I don't know, brake.
I missed my clutch.
Yeah. now I'm like, manuals, you know.
Peasants.
I know, I used to be like, I'm not having an automatic. I'll never drive an automatic. They're lazy. Now I'm like, la, la, la. So, but yeah, it's really strange because I know, because I'll never, I'll never be able to go back into care the way I am now.
How does that make you feel to know that the career that you had for so long, that the career that you loved and that you were expanding on, and then you were going into training, I mean, within a space of 20 minutes,
Oh yeah,
it's
it's crap. It's crap because every day I think, you know, I've been in so many people's lives, and they're like, all right, some people are harder than others, but you know, it's like that was my area. I loved supporting people. I loved being the one going out and going to parties with these young adults that want to relive their, you know, who want to be normal.
yeah,
They are normal. They've just got some disability, which I've now got a disability, you
yeah.
know. So it's it's hard, and it's hard to think what else I could do, because I know some people are lucky enough to carry on working and things, but I think because of my sensory overloads and my brain fog,
It is quite bad with you. Because I used to rely on you to be my brain for
oh
not being
no,
forgetful, because my memory is shocking and everybody who's in my life don't believe me. And then after spending a
yeah,
while, they go, my God, your
you're
memory.
crap, yeah,
And you
yeah.
used to be, but now we're just as bad.
Oh no, it's like
Did we? I don't know. Did we?
I've
Who did
got.
we invite? I don't know. Is it today? Is it Tuesday? I don't know.
Well, this is why I've got like a diary and calendar and alarms on my phone,
Yeah,
because I'm having medication 4 times a day.
yeah.
So that I've got an alarm on my phone for that. I've got a diary which has got information in it. I've got the house calendar in the kitchen. So I've got notes
Everywhere.
everywhere. And
There's a film with Guy Pearce, and I think every night he gets amnesia, and he's the same. He's got post-it notes of who he is, and it's just, you're obviously not that bad, but that just
well, it
came to
doesn't
mind.
help now. They're like, on top of that, I'm also perimenopause. So I got like, I don't know if I'm having brain fog because of the FND or because of,
Hot flushes, or the menopause and everything.
yeah, am I having these brain fog moments because of FND or because of my menopause? You just,
There's way too much that overlaps that it makes
oh
it really
yeah,
difficult for you to.
because, you know, a lot of people who I talk to, they've all got, a lot of them have got like an autoimmune disease on
Yeah.
top of this because they overlap. And I mean, I'm not surprised that if I carry on the way I do, because I still suffer with pain in my muscles and in my arms, you know, I still have, on top of my 2 strong tablets, which are for muscle relaxants and nerve blockers, I still take paracetamol and ibuprofen to
Yeah.
help that. I'm not surprised if I carry on that the GP will diagnose me with fibromyalgia, because that is an autoimmune disease. But again, it overlaps so much. You get so many symptoms. And some people even say fibromyalgia is a symptom of FND.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of automatically comes in the pocket of FND. So yeah, I mean, we thought the last 3 years were crap with COVID, and then like just getting over the horizon and everything was being new, and
getting
newly
out there.
married and la la la, and then it's like boom.
Because literally we did Penavan the year after we did Snowdon, and then we were going to do Ben Nevis.
Yeah, we wanted to do Ben Nevis.
And now we'll just have to say his name. Hopefully not 3 times, and it'll just come out.
Yeah, it's just like,
the
yeah, I
Candyman.
mean, well, I could, there's a possibility I could, if I'm really, really good, I could do Penavan on the really, really easy slope where they got prams and stuff. Not saying that you can push me up there in the wheelchair.
I was going to say, you're bloody optimistic. You get to the top of the stairs and you're done.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Because we did say, we'll take the kids to Penavan, and it's like,
nah.
Silly things like that I've also got to take into consideration.
Everywhere we go now, we've got to, it's like, is it wheelchair accessible?
Yeah. Because and some other people are like, well, why are you in a wheelchair if you can walk? This is another thing. People think people that are in wheelchairs are all paralysed.
No,
it's not. I mean, we know that because, I know because of work, and also your mother who has an illness, which
she uses the wheelchair for. So you can port it about the house. And when we say port it about the house, we're not talking about running around the house up and down.
Run.
We're talking about,
if I had to try and run after the kids, they'd be laughing. They'd be like, "Can't slow coach." Do you know what I mean? Because I can't.
Yeah,
I can't.
Like getting from the sofa to the kitchen, and then you got to sit down with a stool and have a breather. So portering isn't, I'll just quickly clean downstairs. That's not what we mean by portering. It's literally, I can walk from here to there, have a break.
And they're good days.
Yeah. And then after that, we know that what follows after that.
We have good days where, and then I've got bad days where, we had that moment a couple of weeks ago when I was down on the sofa for 3 nights because I just couldn't get back upstairs. I just didn't have the strength in my legs.
And it was this sofa that we slept on. Good old sofa.
So it's, silly things like that. And the summer holidays was probably the hardest. Because, we always go for walks, go out. We're part of the National Trust, so we go to places like different gardens, and luckily they are wheelchair accessible also, which is good. Excuse me. I can't even do things like, go somewhere and run around with my kids in a park.
Yeah.
Which luckily, my children are now 12 and 9. So they can run themselves. Yeah, they can run around themselves. I'm like, go for it. But, if you want to be a big kid like we are.
Yeah, we are big kids.
We're the first, push the kid out the way. We're first on the climbing frame.
I'm hanging upside down.
Yeah.
I couldn't even go to the toilet without you being on the bloody pull-up bar, hanging upside down, going, hi.
Yeah. And now it's just like, can't. No. It's crap.
It has been a massive shift for us in regards to the relationship, but also, I don't think we've lost anything either. We've lost the running about things, but we haven't lost anything else. I personally don't think.
No.
It's definitely brought us together stronger.
Yeah.
And obviously the landscape's changed.
Yeah, I think the good thing is that you have got family members that are poorly.
Yeah.
And I think, because I know there's some people, bless them, and their partners leave them because they can't cope with it.
They struggle.
And they struggle with it.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason you've been able to be so strong and do it is because of...
Well, because of my parents and Samuel's mum and everything. And for me, it wasn't a case of... there was no anxiety. There was no worrying. As soon as we were in the hospital and I had a gut feeling that this is going to be...
You were plotting in your little head.
I was already plotting. I was already... You were like, don't move, don't worry about moving the furniture now. I'd come home and I'd
done it. I had a little studio apartment in here.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I did it for myself. It wasn't for her.
Yeah, unfortunately you had to sleep in the living room as well. So, Yeah, I
what
mean
do you...
it can completely throw some people. I think because of my situation and my job, I was strong enough to get through it. I mean, I could have had moments where I'm like, sod it.
I've had enough.
I've had
Yeah,
enough, blah blah blah, what the hell's this? And but
really been defeatist.
yeah, and I was just like, at times I was like, well, if I'm gonna be in a wheelchair, I'm gonna be in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. It's the end of the world. I was just like,
Pragmatic that...
if it's going to be, it's going to be.
Yeah.
And again, I just always looked back that, it could be so much worse.
Yeah. I am very proud of you, of how you handled this. No, I have been, because one of my biggest concerns wasn't the physical aspect of doing things and helping. Because as men, we like to fix things, and I knew that was one thing that I could do. But how do you... I'm just like, how do I console someone who's lost everything within 20 minutes? I mean, I couldn't reconcile that myself. If it happened to me, I don't know how I would be. I'm really proud of how you've handled it. Oh no, because I didn't know whether or not, because I know your personality, until you've gone through a situation with your partner, your wife, or whomever you're with, that is a massive life-changing thing. You don't know how strong that relationship. You don't know how the person is going to react.
Yeah.
How are you going to bite at each other because you're trying to help, and the way that you're helping is irritating the other person because you're not...
Well, let's talk about that one time where you tried to give me a fireman's lift up the stairs, not realising, you go up 1, 2, 3 steps, and then you've got
I bumped
the
your head.
roof, well, the ceiling.
That was because your sister said...
Oh,
I
honestly thought I was going to, like...
Had you knocked you out?
Oh, I did think you were going to knock me out. I was in so much pain. I was just like...
For context, your sister, the lovely person that paid for...
Yeah.
the same person, so I gotta be careful how I phrase this. She said, come up, but to go over to her house...
Well, to go over my sister's or my mother's, there's stairs.
There's loads of stairs.
My other sister's, there's stairs. So I was like...
And they kept saying, why don't you do a fireman's lift? And you were going, how hard can it be? And I said, right, okay.
My poor head can tell you.
It was hard.
I was like, I had a bump for ages. I was like, I'm going to get concussion.
I genuinely didn't think you were going to lift your head up that high.
I'm sorry, I don't know. In my defence, you don't often whoosh me up the stairs in a fireman's lift pose.
It'd be quite sexist if I just picked you up and dragged you up like that.
Yeah.
Come on. Where are we going? I know.
Yeah, flipping hell.
Well, for my first fireman's lift, it didn't go very well.
No, so...
I carried the weight. I got you up there. I got you up those stairs.
Yeah, yeah. And that's another thing, weight. I
was going to...
Yeah, not you. You're okay. It's weight. That's another thing, I've now put on over a stone since this, because I'm not as active. I mean, there was a constant joke in the family about me being so thin, and I would never put on weight. And it was like, wait for your first kid. Didn't happen. Wait for your second kid. Didn't happen. Wait till you're 40. And literally, I turned 40 in the January, and in the May, I had this. And that wasn't because I hit 40, I'd like to state. It was this, and the medication that you're on can put on weight and have other side effects. So
the only people that were happy was your sisters.
Oh yeah.
They were
like, yay! I was like, oh no, I'm not the skinniest anymore. It's not fair. But yeah. And other people were like, you could have done with putting on weight, Donna. I was like,
only because they put on weight and they want to feel good about themselves. Whenever someone says, you look better with a bit more weight, shut up. It's because you can't lose the weight, or you've put on weight and you want to feel better about yourself. Chunky.
Let's not discriminate.
We're not discriminating.
No. But yeah, it is completely and utterly life-changing. I can't be a pig anymore.
So what advice would you give to people that are in this situation where they've had this happen? It hasn't been diagnosed, but it's in the process. What would you...
So definitely don't go down the rabbit hole so much.
Yeah.
Easily said than done. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I went down that rabbit hole probably every night.
Yeah.
You know, and then there's a link, then there's another link, and then there's another link.
And it's really important as a partner not to stop you. Because as soon as you say the word stop worrying about it or stop looking, your brain's going to go into overdrive regardless. So you have to go through that.
So like the only thing I would recommend is log everything, which I've done. Like I log everything now, even down to like headaches. If I wake up tired, more tired than normal, if I sleep more,
because now you're because you used to have an awful problem sleeping when you were fit. Now, as soon as your head hits the pillow, you are gone, and you're still waking up tired. Yeah,
like fatigue. Fatigue is one of the massive things with FND. I was watching someone on TikTok earlier, and she was only walking, just gentle walking with a stick, and they were in Beverly Hills. No, not Cardiff, but you know. Yeah.
We got some sunshine today, Donna Market.
Yeah, you know, FND doesn't discriminate. It even goes after the people in Beverly Hills. So
we'll have you all.
Yeah. You know, and the husband said, "Oh, why are you out of breath?" And he didn't say it nastily. He was doing it because he was filming her, and she said, you know,
to give context of the condition.
Like she said, just the thinking of 1 step, 2 step, and what am I going to do and stuff, and talking to you whilst I'm walking. She said it knackers you out. So that's one of the other reasons I use the wheelchair, because if I walk too much, my leg, because I have one of my main things is leg weakness.
Yeah.
I could just stop being able to walk. Yeah. And secondly, the fatigue gets so many people with FND.
And it's chronic, isn't it? And that's the thing that needs to be identified.
Yeah, it's not like 2 minutes. It's like I'll walk. Like I very, very rarely pick up my daughter now, the youngest, who's still in primary school, even though it's 2 minutes down the road. It's the whole...
only twice that you've been able to do it.
On my special walker. That was with you,
special walker.
You know, it's having to, you know, get dressed, go outside. You know, 90% of the time I'm in pajamas if I'm not doing anything. And if I'm talking to my neighbours, I'm out there in my pajamas and I just don't care.
You've become that person.
I have become that person.
I used to make fun of. Don't you go outside that house in your pajamas?
I know. I'm just like, look, I'm still on my step. I'm not on the pavement. I'm on my property. I can wear whatever the hell I want.
So definitely log everything, because everything is important.
Yeah, go back to what we were on about. Log everything. Don't be afraid to keep hassling your doctor, because I did, and it was only because I was constantly talking to my doctor, and he was like, there's no record of them referring you. And you know, if you can afford it, a lot of people automatically think private is stupid money. Granted, you know,
it wasn't cheap,
but it also wasn't thousands. You know, it was only a couple of £100. I say only a couple of hundred. We were very, very lucky
at the time.
At the time that my sister was like
let's get it. Because even she was like, you can't wait.
Oh yeah, I mean, she was fuming in the hospital.
But to like get it out, she's like Mike Tyson. I thought she's gonna bite someone's ear.
But she's the big sister, and she's always been
Yeah.
like that. You know, she's like,
Good article.
this is taking the mick, rah, 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 rah. And it's like, and you know,
And
she had a
the
fair
thing
point.
is, 30 minutes.
And within 30 minutes of and it's almost like,
we paid for the hour and we wanted to stay.
Yeah, I was like, excuse me.
We were like, hang on a second.
I can't say to you, get that coffee, get some biscuits.
Get some coffee, make sure you get everything. Take the pillows.
Yeah, this cost us. Yeah. These nice plump pillows, we'll take these. Yeah, it's almost like, unless you are in that field, in neurology, it's not talked about. You know, a GP
is not going to know.
Isn't going to know.
No.
And, you know, all those years of being in the, you know, I know, you know, they've got to go through a heck of a lot to study. They only probably touch the surface of neurology unless they're going down that route.
You neurologists are only touching the surface. There's so much that they
so
don't
you know,
know.
a doc, you know, a GP, a general doctor in your A&E, unless they have seen it before, probably.
So the point is that you need to make sure that you're not relying on the GP, the hospital, or anybody like that. If you want to drive this forward, you're going to have to become your own manager in your own house.
Yeah. I mean, you may be really lucky. There's one or two people that, whilst they have been in hospital, the hospital has diagnosed them.
Yeah.
You know, again, it all depends. You could be lucky and you could see a neurologist that has had this in the past or experienced it with other people, so they know. You know, and again, it's a postcode lottery with there is a very small help with the NHS, but it's almost a postcode lottery with that. So it is very much, but again, you know, go on the main FND Hope website, you know, they're amazing. They have FND Hope UK, and then they go across the world, you know, and so they're pushing, and there are other, you know, what do they say? Other companies are available.
We'll have a byline little thing that's scrolling across the screen, just in case.
Yeah, but they are out there, and there are people to help, and there are a lot more people pushing it on things like TikTok.
Yeah.
And there are also now a lot of doctors and neurologists going on TikTok mentioning it. So
would you advise people to record themselves if they're, or their partner, if they're having these episodes, just as video proof?
Yeah. So
not to put on social media, but when you go to your GP.
People who have episodes or NERDs, as they're called, non-epileptic seizures, record it all. Record like your leg spasms, not being able to work, your leg, everything, like the way you're talking, the way you're not being able to concentrate, anything that is a symptom or not you previously, log it. If you can record it, because you need it, because unfortunately nothing medically is gonna pick it up.
And it's going to be uncomfortable. And one of the difficult things that you're going to have to reconcile with is that when you're recording yourself and then you're watching it back, you're seeing it from a third person perspective, because in the instance it's happening to you, and then you're watching it happen to you, and then you have to be okay with that. And that we can't advise how you're going to feel about that, or how it's going to be very. I mean, it is going to be difficult.
Some people might completely be like, I don't want to know. You know, some people. I mean, I've been really lucky because I don't have nerds. Not the sweets. Some people lose their license.
Yeah.
You know, it's life changing. And yeah, record, log. If you are able to see a specialist,
do it.
But
But should they do it right at the start, or do you need to go through? Because we had to go through the process of getting enough information from like A&E and the GP.
Yeah, so we had all that. I mean, if you've had a big episode, like a big FND episode,
Yeah.
you're probably going to be either seeing your doctor or being in A&E. Let's be realistic, you know.
Yeah. So they need to log everything down,
Yeah,
get the records from the hospital so that they've got that, however it works, which like in Wales and England.
yeah,
And then if they refer you, because they referred you,
yeah. So our doctor sent a referral to.
but it was going to take how long? It was it 8 or 9 months, or I can't remember how long, but it was like substantially long that we were
What, for the NHS?
Yeah.
Oh, the NHS is like a ball of string. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So if you can afford it,
if you can get private, like I said, some people are lucky enough and they get diagnosed whilst in hospital, but it is just log everything and join groups, speak to people. Don't be ashamed of, oh, I've got this or this. Don't think it's a silly question. Join these groups. Ask.
Yeah.
I mean, before I got diagnosed, I was on groups with FND. I was autoimmune diseases, lupus, and other.
I couldn't keep up
Because
with
I
all
was
the conversations.
like, yeah, because I was having so many conversations.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
No.
I was having so many different conversations with so many different people, and you know, they're all there to help.
Yeah.
They're all on these groups. You know, no one's gonna judge you, or I've asked so many stupid questions, you know. So just ask, reach out, don't feel ashamed. Some people don't want to talk to their family and friends, which, you know, is fine. I mean, I'm a person that's very close to my friends and family, and I'm not ashamed or quiet and reserved. So,
but there has to be a realization that if you take that action to say nothing,
no, but this is what I'm saying. Like, I was happy enough to blurt everything to my friends and family. I wasn't ashamed of what was going on, because I've always been open with all my friends and family about my everything, you know. So, but if you aren't like that and you want to talk to people outside of your friends and family, all these pages and things, you can write messages anonymous.
Yeah.
You know, so don't be alone. You know,
you got it even on the wedding pages that they'll post anonymously. So you know, you don't have to worry.
Don't worry that someone's going to judge you.
It's a genuine question, and if it helps you get to an answer
and the
quicker.
thing is, you could be asking a silly question that someone else wanted to ask but was too afraid.
Yeah.
Ask and ask and ask.
Brilliant.
Just ask. Document, log, ask, hound your doctor. If you do need to go through the NHS, constantly hound them. If you can afford to go private, do it.
Brilliant. Thank you. We'll leave it there for today. How was that?
Fabulous. I'm going to have my lunch now.
You can have lunch. What are we having nice?
I've ordered my food in from Tesco's. I got pasta.
You got pasta.
I got pasta, and then for dessert, pineapple.
Hey.
I know.
Oh yeah, you have, haven't you?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
you did the click and collect this morning.
Click and collect this morning. I was there and I forgot all the bags.
Yes, which were next to the front door. And what else did you forget? Oh, the soft plastic.
The soft plastics, yes.
That we now recycle in Wales. Other countries may be different.
I will leave it at that. Yeah, but thank you for today. It means a lot.
You're welcome.
Oh, cool.
Dear, thank you.
Coffee?
Coffee.
Love coffee. Marvellous.
Oh,
my hip. I'm not kidding. my ass cheek and my hip.
Oh.
I was hoping this was going to be a comfortable setup, but after that, oh, big buzz.